last film forged a sword. Justice, tempered by mercy, restrained by toleration, a man finally trusted to be angry at injustice and not misuse it. The Rite spent 30 degrees making him, and now it does the one thing he was never prepared for. It weighs him. This is the Consistory, degrees 31 and 32, the last chamber of the Scottish Rite and the summit of the whole climb. Everything until now added something to the initiate, built him up degree by degree. These last two take all of it back to the scales and ask a single, quiet question. Does it balance? And somewhere in the answer is the thing this entire series has been chasing since the third degree, since a master was murdered and a word was lost at his grave. The Rite is about to tell you where that word has been the whole time. You will not guess where. These two degrees are called the Consistory, the body of the Rite above the Council of Kadosh, the last chamber. There is nothing above it but recognition, and it works differently from everything before it. For 30 degrees, the Rite has been a teacher, handing the initiate one thing after another: a tool, a journey, a wound, a name, a rose, a sword. The Consistory stops giving. It turns the whole man around and weighs what he has become. It does this in two movements. The 31st degree is a tribunal, a court of perfect justice, where the man who has learned to judge is himself put on trial. The 32nd is the secret, the royal secret, the highest teaching of the Rite, the thing the whole ladder was built to reach. First, justice is judged by justice. Then, at the very top, every opposite the Rite ever set against another is reconciled into one. And here, at last, the oldest thread in the series is tied off. The lost word, lost at a graveside in the 3rd degree, recovered from a vault in the 14th, and lost again to history, transformed into love at the 18th, forged into justice at the 30th. The Consistory finds it, not in the ground, not in a vault, but somewhere no one thought to look, because it was never a thing you could dig up at all. The 31st degree in the Continental Rite is the soberest room in all of Freemasonry. No torches, no daggers, no drama, a stark, white-draped courtroom. The Grand Inspector Inquisitor sits not as an avenger, but as a judge, bound to the codes of law, to pure jurisprudence, to the unyielding rule that justice must be the same for every person, or it is not justice at all. After the fire of the Kadosh, the Rite cools the whole room down to the temperature of a court. The man who arrives here has spent the entire Rite learning to act, to search, to strike. Now he is brought before the bench to learn the hardest discipline of judgment, that you cannot judge another human being honestly until you have first stood in the dock yourself and been measured by the very same law. The judge and the judged, the Rite insists, must be the same person. True justice begins the moment you stop making exceptions for yourself. And here the American esoteric tradition, the philosophy of Albert Pike, reads something far older underneath that sober courtroom. Beneath the codes and the white drapery, Pike uncovers the most ancient image of judgment the human race ever made, the Egyptian weighing of the heart. In that old vision, the soul comes after death into a hall of judgment, and its heart is set upon a balance, weighed against a single feather, the feather of truth, not against its wealth, not its power, not its words, against truth and nothing else. This series, as always, lets the divine judge of that hall remain pure light, never a face, But the lesson the two readings share, the Continental Court and the Egyptian Hall, is a single lesson. You will be weighed. And the only thing on the other pan is the truth of what you actually did. So the sword of the Kadosh, so carefully forged, is brought to the scales and tested against itself. A man is not just because he punishes others. He is just when he can bear to be weighed by his own measure and does not flinch. The 32nd degree opens onto the strangest and grandest image in the Scottish Rite. A camp, an entire symbolic army, encamped in a vast and exact geometry, laid out, when you see it from above, as rings within rings. And this camp is a map of the entire journey you have taken. The outer ring, a great 9-sided figure, is the foundation, the first 14 degrees, the craft, and the lodge of perfection, everything built up from the ground. Inside it, a 5-sided figure, the degrees of the Rose Couloir, the return, and the transformation. Inside that, a triangle, the Kadosh, justice, and its reckoning. And at the very center of all of it, a single circle, the whole rite, drawn as a fortress, folding inward ring by ring toward one still point at its heart. It is called an army, and a contest of good against evil. And here, the rite must be read carefully. This is not a war of conquest. There is no nation on those banners, no enemy across a field. The army is the assembled discipline of a single human being, the virtues and the sciences, drawn up in order. The war is the only war the Rite has ever actually been about. The war inside, against one's own capacity for tyranny. The camp is a soul, fortified, and the movement of this degree is inward. From the outer wall, through each ring, through the foundation, through the transformation, through justice, toward that central circle. Everything the initiate has climbed, folding inward to a single point. The question waiting at the center is the last question the Rite will ever ask him. What is it all for? What is the secret at the middle of the whole design? At the center of the camp, the initiate is given the royal secret, the highest secret of the Scottish Rite, the thing the entire ladder, all 32 degrees of it, was built to reach. The Rite names it and gives it and guards its form, as it has guarded every true word in this series. So I will do here what I have done at every summit. I will tell you what it means and not say it. And what it means is the most surprising thing in the whole Rite. Because after 32 degrees of searching for a hidden word, you would expect the secret at the summit to be enormous. A name, a key, a revelation that splits the sky. It is not. It is quieter than that, and far larger. The royal secret is equilibrium, balance, the reconciliation of everything. The Rite spent 32 degrees holding in tension. Duty and freedom, justice and mercy, the divine and the human, faith and reason, the stone and the spirit, the sword and the conscience. Every pair the Rite set against each other, all the way up. And the secret at the top is that they were never enemies, that a complete human being is not the one who chooses between them, but the one who holds them in balance. The whole climb was the building of that balance. The secret was the scaffolding all along. And there, finally, is the lost word. Do you see where it was? It was never a syllable buried under a temple, never a name on a plate of gold in a vault, never a thing you could dig out of the ground, which is exactly why every search that looked in the ground failed. The lost word was the balanced human being, the equilibrated soul, the very thing the Rite was building, rung by rung. The entire time it pretended to be looking for something else. It was lost at a graveside, because that is where a man first learns the search matters. It was recovered and lost in a vault to teach that no building can hold it. It was transformed into love and forged into justice. And here, at the summit, it is revealed to be the balance that holds love and justice together. That is why it can never be lost again. You cannot bury equilibrium. You cannot burn a balanced soul. It was never anywhere a fire, or a grave, or the fall of a temple could reach. It was in the person all along. If that lands quietly, good. It is supposed to. The Rite climbs 32 degrees to tell you that the secret was never going to be a magic word. The secret was you, finished, balanced, whole. There is, technically, one more degree, the 33rd, but it is not a lesson, and you do not climb to it. It is a recognition, an honor the Rite confers on a few, for service, for governance, for a life given to the work. It sits above the consistory the way a title sits above a life's labor. The teaching ended at the 32nd. Everything the Rite has to say about what a human being is for, it has now said. The 33rd is just the world acknowledging that someone reached the summit. So look back, one last time, at the whole road. The apprentice went inward, into himself. The companion went outward, into the world. The master went down into the grave, and was raised. The Lodge of Perfection recovered the old name, and lost it again to history. The chapter of Roskar Wawa transformed it into love. The Council of Kadosh forged that love into justice, and the Consistory reconciled it all into balance. Inward, outward, down, recovered and lost, transformed, forged, and, at last, reconciled. That is the whole of it. 32 degrees, climbing toward a secret. And the secret was that the climbing was the point, and the summit was a balanced human being who no longer needs to climb. The lost word is found. It was never missing. It was being assembled, the entire time, out of the person doing the searching. The scales come level, and they stay there. That is the consistory, and that is the Scottish Rite.